Hello and welcome to another edition of For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. We are on location today. I am chatting with Christina Amadeo. She is the director of United Way 201 in Rhode Island. First of all, thank you very much for having us in today.
You're welcome.
And it's a pleasure to be here. We like to be able to get out on the road whenever possible. And we've had 201 in our studios, but we definitely wanted to take it on the road and meet the fine folks here. So tell everybody who might not be familiar with 211, what is it exactly?
211 is an information and referral line that has existed in Rhode Island since June 1st of 2007. We are part of 236 other 211s throughout the United States. We are open 24/7 and we answer calls in over 200 languages.
Now, people have obviously know what 911 is. They know that's the emergency call. So 211, what is that?
We provide information and referral for health and human services. So if someone needs food, if someone needs shelter, if someone needs housing, they call us with that specific need, and then we refer to the appropriate agencies in the community that would be able to help with that need.
So you said back since 2007?
June 1st of 2007.
211s in general, they came about, obviously a need, there was a need for it, but how did it all come together?
It came together in 1999 in Connecticut when there was a huge homeless problem in Connecticut, and people wanted an easy number to remember, an easy number to call. 211 came out of a donation that was given to the local United Way in Connecticut and also in Atlanta. It came out of there because a lot of the calls that come into 211 or that were coming into helplines prior to 211 were pertaining health and human services. They weren't just information calls. They weren't just emergency calls. There were calls from individuals that needed help thinking outside the box, that needed help helping out, to help others and to help themselves.
Yeah, and this is United Way 211, so how does that fit into it?
United Way of Rhode Island is the main funder for United Way 211. They fund about 75% of the 211 operation. 211s at the national level were funded by or were started by United Way worldwide and also by the Alliance of Information Referral Systems.
Now, so Rhode Island specifically now, the reasons people call, obviously if you think about different states, Connecticut, Atlanta, maybe the needs were different or the information required is different, but Rhode Island as a state in general, people call, what do they really need, what do they want, what are they looking for?
The primary needs that individuals have when they call 211 are aging and disability resources.
Rhode Island is an aging state too. The
Yes.
population is getting older in Rhode Island for sure.
That's why our 211, looking at the barometer that the 211 statistics were providing us with here at United Way, we decided to take on the Aging and Disability Resource Center in 2010.
It kind of merged into it, is that what happened?
It's merged into 211. It's a separate program fully funded by the Division of Elderly Affairs, but it is located right here at United Way. It is a separate call center, but it uses the same modus operandi as 211, information and referral, and also options counseling for aging and disability. But on the 211 side, we help primarily with utility assistance, rental assistance, food assistance, and of course when we get activated during disasters.
And there certainly have been a fair share of disasters in this neck of the woods lately. Hurricanes, superstorms, blizzards. I read a stat or saw something where during the last blizzard there was just an unbelievable amount of calls that came in.
In one day, we received over 8,200 calls, Saturday, February 9th.
8,200 calls in one day.
In one
and what
day.
were they asking for? Is it because of power outage situations or just help getting shoveled out, things like that?
Actually, that day was primarily power being out. People needed to get out. They needed to get to doctor's appointments on Monday, and they were concerned. But people just wanted to know when their cities and town were going to come and shovel in front of their homes.
Wow, and it really was that bad. I mean, for a day or two, you just could not get out of your home, wherever you were at, So, and again, if we're talking about an aging state where it's not as easy for people to be able to get out their front door, even as a younger, healthy person, imagine what it was like for them.
It was just impossible to get out because if you recall, the snow was just packed.
Yes.
So even
Heavy.
young people that could shovel, they could not get themselves out until the cities and towns came to plow.
I couldn't even pay some kid, which is what I would do on a regular basis. But yeah, it was tough. So yeah, blizzards, superstorms, hurricanes. During Hurricane Sandy, certainly that was a situation where I would imagine a lot of calls came in.
Yes, primarily the calls came from Washington County and also from Newport County. These calls were slightly different. These were about sand being in their homes,
Yeah.
floods, debris all over, especially coastal homes. Those calls were pretty much under control. It was one part of the state. We were able to get to our building. We were here. We handled the calls, but there was still a lot of need. We received about 6,900 calls
Wow, just for
in
that,
2
too.
days
You
for
know, we
Hurricane
did a
Sandy.
show recently on the restoration, the recovery effort of the Musquamacket Beach area, yeah, and those folks really had a tough time down there. So I can imagine them just jumping on 211 just to, you know, find out what's the next move. What do I do? Just steer me in the right direction.
We're still actually working with recovery. We're still helping homes. We're still coordinating services for homes in Westerly and the Newport
Is
area.
that right? Really?
Yes, right out of here, right out of 211 as well.
Wow.
That's the thing about 211. Not only we respond during the emergency, but then we also help with the long-term recovery.
Right.
And recovery can take up to 1.5 to 2 years.
So it's not just a one call thing. Here's who you need to get a hold of, and then you kind of disassociate yourself with it. It doesn't work that way at all, right?
No, as resources become available during a disaster, we keep calling people back to give them updates about resources that come about from Rhode Island Emergency Management or from the federal agencies or from the community agencies. So once you call 211, it's a relationship that you are establishing. It's a connection to resources in the community.
So once they call, you're getting as much information from them as possible so that you can follow up with it, and you're able to get back to them. Because a lot of people might think, well, they're done with it. Now it's up to me. They've given me a number to call or a website to go to, and they've done their part. But that's not the case at all. Their part, meaning 211's part, is much more than that.
Yes, it is. It's almost a wraparound services. And as I said, as services become available, we call people back. We called, during the floods of 2010, we called about 15,000 people back. During the blizzard this year, we called over 12,000 people back.
Wow, it's amazing. Now, if someone does want to get information, but they want to be anonymous, is that okay?
We are confidential and anonymous. We never reveal the names and the location of our callers unless it is required for us to share information in order for that person to receive help.
Wow. Now, as director, what does your job entail? Because the fantastic facilities that were just outside of, talk about that a little bit.
As program director, I am the connection to the community. I'm the program director not only for 211, but for Gamblers Hotline, for Bright Stars, and also for the Aging and Disability Resource Center. I am the staff's connection to the community, to United Way, to our national partners. It is my job to be sure that everything runs smoothly. It is my job to plan ahead on behalf of the staff, on behalf of 211, and on behalf of United Way.
So how does it run smoothly? What has to happen? What kind of training do the call takers get? Talk about that a little bit.
The regular call takers, day in and day out, they get about a 2-week training. We give them trainings not only from the call floor supervisor, but also from United Way and also from our partners out of state. During a disaster, we do recruit volunteers, and those volunteers get a crash course, 1
Real
hour.
quick, yeah, because they have to
1
get
hour.
going right away, right?
But it's very specific calls.
Okay.
Basically, the calls that come in during the disaster, it can only be lost power, I'm stranded, I have a flood. So we have the specific information for those callers. So they get a crash course during the disaster. So for regular staff, 2 hours. During a disaster, it would be about an hour.
So anytime there's a big disaster event, like we were talking about the blizzard, a superstorm, hurricane, anything like that, aside from the callers that you already have, extra people are brought in on purpose, specifically to answer those questions that you're going to get a ton of calls for, right?
Yes, we have an incredible partnership with Serve Rhode Island. This past storm during the blizzard, they brought in over 50 volunteers. Wow. But we also have an enormous amount of support from United Way staff, the regular United Way staff that do resource development, that do marketing. They step right in and help us make calls, take calls, do data entry, do research for us. So not only we have the support of Serve Rhode Island and volunteers from AmeriCorps and NCCC, but we also have great support from United Way staff.
So when you are training your call takers, either whether it's the regular staff or the emergency people, what kind of training? Obviously, they need to know quickly where to access information for the
Yes.
people that may call. But what about, do you teach them things like demeanor on the phone and just, how to maybe comfort somebody when they're calling? Because if they're calling, sometimes it's just for basic information, but other times there might be some emotion there because they're concerned about something, right?
There's always emotion, and usually the emotion comes with need. If
Yeah.
someone calls us and they're suicidal, usually it's because they can't pay their rent, or they just got abandoned by a spouse, or they just got abandoned by a child, if a person is elderly and was abandoned by a child. So yes, we have to dig through the emotion and be able to help them with the resources that they really need. The training that we give comes from our partners, and it comes from really basically helping people help other people, empower other people. That's the basis of it. Really, about specific resources, we have an incredible database on 211ri.org with about 4,000 resources on there,
Wow.
programs
Is this
and
all
agencies.
for Rhode Island?
This is all for Rhode Island.
Okay.
This is all for Rhode Island. So as long as you know where to look for the information, as long as you know how to search for the need that someone has when they're calling 211, you can go right on the website, or you can go right on our database and help that person with the specific needs that they have.
And that's where the training will come in. They need to be able to know where to go pretty quickly,
Not exactly memorizing, but
Right.
knowing where to find the information.
Yeah, who's going to memorize all the agents?
4,000?
Yeah, maybe you, but I don't know about the rest of the staff, right?
Well, the staff, yes, of course. I hire people that make me look good, so.
Of course. Now, what kind of hours do the call takers put in on a daily? Is it like your typical 8-hour day?
8-hour day, yes.
Okay.
And we try very hard not to have them more than 8 hours, because each call taker takes in between 60 to 100 calls a day. Of course, during disaster, they each
A
took
lot
over
more.
500 calls.
Yeah.
And they didn't work an 8-hour shift, they worked 12 and 14 hours. But we have 3 shifts.
Right.
2 shifts are answered here at United Way of Rhode Island. The 3rd shift is answered by our partners at 211 Main, which is twofold. It's cost effective, and it's also a good backup for us during a disaster.
But they also have, obviously, access to the same resources that the
They sure
local
do.
people have, so boom, they can go right there and get whatever's needed, right?
We provide them trainings twice a year to our colleagues in Maine. It's seamless. You don't even know you're calling Maine.
Is that right? Yeah, because it's not like, there's not a fake name used,
No.
when you're calling Maine. So when somebody does call and they are very emotional, obviously your people have to have almost like a calming influence on them. Not only are you getting the information that they need, but at the same time, you're probably putting their mind and their heart at ease a little bit.
There is a tool that we use called comprehensive listening. And sometimes when people call, they don't expect you to solve their life problems. They expect you to just listen and be caring. And that's the foundation of our work here at 211 and all its programs, is the common effect is to be an effective listener. Use empathy.
Right.
Make sure that you hear what the person is telling you and what the person is not telling you.
Is there a
Use
website people can go and learn more, by the way?
211ri.org, www.211ri.org.
All right, we'll put a graphic up on the screen so people can go and check that out. We'll take a break and come back. Christina Amadeo, is the director of 211 Rhode Island. But let's take a break and come back. This is For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. Stay with us. Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guest today is Christina Amadeo, Director of 211 Rhode Island, or RI, I should say. The website again, one more time, by the way?
www.211ri.org.
All right. Lots of good stuff on there, too. One of the things I wanted to kind of expand on a little bit more, because in the first segment we talked about Rhode Island specifically is a state, it's an aging state. The population is certainly getting older. And we're coming up on a time where Obamacare will kick in soon. There'll be a lot of questions for Medicare, Medicaid, those programs, there'll be changes, which means there'll be a lot of people, aging people, who will have questions. There's a lot of things they don't understand. So, and 211 will really play an intricate role in being able to help those people.
Yes, we have the Point here at 211.
And that's a program, right?
Yeah, it's a program. It's fully funded by the Division of Elderly Affairs. with a grant from American Community Living, which used to be called Administration on Aging. And their job is to provide seniors and adults with disabilities with options counseling, short-term case management, home and community care enrollment, long-term care options. And we developed this program, or we decided to run this program in 2010 because of the barometer that 211 was showing us. Basically, our clients were getting older and older when they were calling, and they had multiple needs, and they had more specific needs than information and referral. So we went towards helping at the point through not only a call center, but also through walk-ins and also through outreach events. So if someone needs help, they don't necessarily need to call. If they rather speak to someone in person, they can walk into United Way. Or they can go to one of the outreach events that we participate in and meet with a benefit specialist right at the outreach event.
Talk about some of those outreach events, if you can.
Certainly. We have at least 3 or 4 a week. We actually have office hours off-site, so we go to the Comprehensive Community Action twice a week. We go to the Situate Senior Center, Fox Point Senior Center, and many other places that we get invited to go to. We even go to Central Falls High School to do outreach events. And we take 211 on the road, basically. We take a laptop and we take all of our resources, and we are able to help someone right there and then, not only with resources, but also with benefits enrollment.
Are you already getting, requests for information or about, maybe just for them to be able to learn more about those big changes that will be coming up in the near future, Obamacare, and again, the changes to Medicare and Medicaid?
Yes, we are already getting calls about that. Obamacare will not influence or do anything with Medicare recipients right now, individuals over 65. It will be primarily for individuals that are 138% below the poverty level, and also for individuals that have no health insurance right now. 211, even before Obamacare, gets about 3,000 calls a month from individuals that have no health insurance. We are starting to get calls finding out, what's this Obamacare? How do I enroll? Where do I go? We give them the right information that enrollment starts on October 1st and that their plan will become effective on January 1st of 2014.
Okay, so enrollment starts at the end or October of this year,
Yes.
and Obamacare kicks in at some point in 2014. Right?
Yes, and again, that's primarily with the Medicaid expansion for individuals that are 138% below the poverty level, and also for individuals that do not have any other health insurance through their place of employment, or if they are self-employed.
And those calls are coming in even now, even
Yes.
long before Obamacare kicks in. There's plenty of places that maybe not provide health insurance for their staff, and so those people are just calling, just looking for information. Where can I go? What options are available to me?
Yes, we were getting those calls long before Obamacare came along here at 211. And it's a big concern for individuals that have no health insurance, that have no comfort zone if they need to go to a doctor, or if they have a toothache and they need to go to the dentist. With no insurance, it's very hard to get health care in our state or anywhere across the country.
And, an aging population of a state, you're always going to have health care or health questions coming your way to 211 in general, and maybe this just adds to the calls just because it's the newness of it and people not understanding. You had just said, people, what is this Obamacare you speak of, and what's it all about? It's it seems like to someone who's somewhat plugged into the news, you're inundated with Obamacare, but there are people that don't even know what it is.
No, and they think it's somewhere over there. They just don't want it to become part of their lives because it's something new. But it is something that is coming, whether we want to or not, in 2014, and that will be able to help a lot of individuals.
It is indeed. So what other calls, what other people looking for information-wise or in need that 211 gets a lot of calls for? How about housing?
We get an average of 4,000 calls a month for housing.
And housing, that's an issue in Rhode Island too, right?
It is an issue in Rhode Island. Housing is very expensive. I just did a presentation yesterday at the Veterans Hospital. Housing for veterans is an issue. Shelter for veterans is an issue. Housing for families is an issue. Housing is still very expensive in Rhode Island. So individuals constantly call us not only for transitional housing or subsidized housing, but just for regular apartments. They're just looking for regular apartments that they can afford.
And even those are tough to come by?
Well, they're tough to come by, but what we do here at 211, every morning we go through the mediums of communication ranging from newspaper to Craigslist, and we combine a list of available apartments in Rhode Island that we supply to the public. We don't mail it out, we can email it out, and someone that needs it might just stop by the United Way and pick up a list.
You know, it's interesting if the housing market is down, but yet you say the Rhode Island housing market is very expensive. It seems like those two shouldn't go together.
Well, I'm not a housing expert, but I am an expert on the clients that we have calling in, and I can tell you that the chief complaint is that rents are very high.
Yeah.
And the chief complaint is also that individuals are still suffering from foreclosure issues.
Yeah.
They're calling us before they hit foreclosure, and we hook them up with the Rhode Island Help Center, Rhode Island Housing, for help renegotiating their mortgage. So really, a rent should not cost more than 30% of someone's household income.
Right.
But rents do cost more in Rhode Island than the household income.
We're not out of the woods yet as far as the economy, recession, whatever you want to call it, housing slump, whatever.
Our clients tell us we're not.
Right, and that's
Our barometer tells us we're not.
thank you. What's a better barometer than the people that need the information, need help? It's been fascinating talking to you. We could probably do another whole show on all the things that you do and the things that that can help people. But at least we kind of introduce those that may not realize that a service like 211 exists. So I'm glad we were able to and this time come to your place. So we'll be able to see the call center and all the great people that are doing work. Pleasure having you on the show today. Thanks.
The pleasure was all mine. Thank you, Sean.
Christina Amadeo, Director of United Way's 211 in Rhode Island. That's our show for today. You can see this show and many others on our YouTube site. In the meantime, I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. We will see you next time. Take care.